You have the sound of the river coming behind you. You have the sound of the birds up in the air. You see the light piercing through the leaves. It's just a beautiful scene, But from a scientific perspective, the million-dollar question is, how does all this work together to sustain life? Because this is what we're concerned about, right? An ecosystem is an environment where different things, living and non-living, work together to sustain life. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this whole picture and figure out what are the different factors that influence it. I tell you right now, there's a few that I know off the top of my head, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We have our producers, we have our consumers, we have our decomposers, we have our living and non-living factors, which is a part of it as well, and we even have human impact. Humans influence nature as well, you know. And today we're going to go over those different things, and I can point out some things that are vital and necessary for this ecosystem. All right. The first thing we need to know is that in this particular ecosystem, and right now I'm talking about oak, hickory, or any type of forest ecosystem. The main thing that we need is sunlight. Sunlight is going to be the foundation of almost every, and I say almost every ecosystem. Reason being is because we have to have producers. Now, what makes producers so unique and so special is the fact that they are able to take the sunlight, the energy that the sun gives off. They can take that energy and make or produce their own food. Hence the name producer. Another term that is often used to describe producers would be autotroph. Auto means when something is done automatically, where producers can make their own food, which is actually pretty amazing. Okay, when you talk about producers, different examples. You could talk about flowers. You could talk about grass. You could talk about weeds. You could talk about trees. You could talk about bushes. Almost everything outside, any type of plant almost would be a good example of a producer. Now, let's move on up the triangle. You have producers. Now you have consumers. Now, what's so unique about consumers is that consumers actually have to eat or consume something to get the energy that they need to survive. Producers make their own food. They make their own energy. What consumers have to eat to obtain their energy to survive. A good example of a consumer would be a deer or people or humans or a cat or a dog. Anything that you have to feed, anything that has to eat would be a good example of a consumer. Now, last of all would be our decomposers. Now, what's so special about decomposers is that they break down all the dead organic material that we have in the world. Whenever you see a dead animal or something on the side of the road, it doesn't just stay there. Eventually it breaks down and it's recycled, and that's the job of a decomposer. A lot of times you have different fungus, bacteria, and other things that actually break down um, organic material. So those are three things. We have producers, which is special because they make their own food. Another word for them would be autotroph. We have consumers, which have to consume things to get the energy that's necessary for them to survive. And we have decomposers, which break down organic material. Everything we've spoken about so far has been examples of living factors. The proper term would be biotic factors. But another thing we need to take into consideration are the non-living factors, the abiotic factors, things like the elevation, or things like the average temperature, or the amount of precipitation. All those different things can play a role in our ecosystem. Another thing that we need to also take into consideration is the human impact on our ecosystem. Um, Humans often tamper or can affect the ecosystem with different things. Some examples would be camping. You leave fire, you leave trash, or clear cutting when we get lumber and don't plant trees back, or forest fires. Them started sometimes by campers or even other things, and then pollution, trash, this acid rain. There's so many different things that humans can do to affect an ecosystem. So we need to be careful holistically to make sure that we don't damage what we do have.